Everything is going great. Your company's growing. People want more and more of your services, but now you're realizing that you're going to have to hire more employees to actually fulfill the needs that this clientele wants. This is where I think a lot of small businesses make it way harder on themselves. If you look at large organizations, they're using artificial intelligence across the board, whether that's for their own onboarding needs, for customer service, or just managing the back end of their corporation. The idea is that in this video, I want to talk about how you can use artificial intelligence within your small business to actually speed up your productivity to get you back to growing the business so you can remain competitive in this big landscape. To help illustrate this, we are going to use a fictitious business, and that is Road Shine Mobile Detailing. This is a mobile detailing service whose customers are predominantly local car owners and small fleets out in Omaha, Nebraska. Let's say the current team size is just that one owner and then two technicians that are all actually going out and servicing the clients, which is going to elicit our new hire. This is a customer experience and scheduler. This person's whole job will be to interact with customers as they call in, as they email, make inquiries, and then ultimately scheduling all of those customers for those technicians to go out and service, as well as working with customers for cancellations and really making sure that that technician's life at an office perspective runs smoothly and they always remain busy. Let's hop right into our AI system and start utilizing it to get that end deliverable that will be the onboarding kit for our new hire. Now, a couple things before we get into it is that I use Perplexity as my main AI system of choice. All the other ones will do just as good. However, I use this because it acts as an orchestrator for all the other different models, right? It can get into ChatGPT, Claude, and really makes it where when we're going to be putting in our queries, it's just going to pick whichever model thinks it will do the best job to help us along the way. The next is that I use Perplexity Pro. It's the paid version of Perplexity. However, it is not needed for anything we're about to discuss. One of the big things that I think small businesses overlook the most when they utilize AI and that they don't get the outcomes that they want is context. At the end of the day, these systems only know the very things that you input into it. The outputs it'll give you, in this case, our onboarding kit, is only going to be as good as the foundation we set for it. That's why one of the first things I always do when we utilize these is go through and submit the context, right? Let's talk about that Road Shine Mobile Detailing, what the industry actually is, how many folks we have with one owner and two technicians, who do we service, and then ultimately, since we're creating the onboarding plan, what is the role we're hiring for? A customer experience and scheduling coordinator. This person will handle calls, messages, confirm and adjustment bookings, and make sure technicians have a clear daily schedule and know their routes going into it. Another thing it thrives off of is knowing the key deliverables it's going to be giving you. This onboarding kit is going to contain a few things. A role overview, because we want to make sure it truly understands the role that we're building for. A 30, 60, 90-day plan so that we can build into this new hire's relationship with the company in a structured way. An onboarding checklist to get over that original bumpy patch that always happens when you bring somebody on. And then a day one quick guide that we can give this new hire and they can feel like they're hitting the ground running. Before we submit this, a key thing to always talk about with AI is asking it to restate what you've put inside of it, making sure that it understands the words you're using, because if it's only as good as the context you give it, let's make sure it understands the context, because AI hallucinates. It is not perfect. Ultimately, we are using this as a productivity tool to buy back a little bit of your time in your day. That is why we're asking, so we can make sure it has a strong foundation. As we submit this, it's going to come back understanding what the business that we have is. Road Shine Mobile Detailing serves individual car owners, local fleets. In the Omaha, Nebraska area, there is one owner, two technicians. The idea being that we're adding a customer experience scheduling coordinator who's going to act as a traffic controller for communications. Its understanding of the role is that it's going to be the first point of contact for customers who reach out in all the various ways. It owns the booking calendar, confirming new appointments, adjusting times, managing reschedules, and ultimately keeping the capacity of these two technicians as high as possible. Building and publishing those clear daily schedules, protecting and enhancing customer experience, and acting as that bridge of communication between you, the owner, the technicians, and the customer. That is the key role, and that's a good understanding of what I want to build towards for this role. I'll say, since this is fictitious, make sure it aligns to you. put in your thoughts. If this doesn't align first time, ask it questions, tell it it's wrong, go for it, and make sure it actually does align with the role it's happening with. Because what this is doing is pulling information all across the internet of roles that it thinks titles like this would do, given the context that we gave. Everybody's a little different. We can adjust it accordingly. Now it's going to say with an onboarding kit, from what it understands, it's clear role overview, it's 30, 60, 90, what looks good at each stage, giving you that onboarding checklist, and then the day one guide. This is where it starts hitting you with additional questions. What tools do you typically use for booking? Is it a specific CRM? Is it Google Calendar, Squarespace? For this, I'm going to say we use Google Calendar. As it pulls that information, it's going to build it into its knowledge of what this role is. Saying you're currently using Google Calendar, you need to be very comfortable in creating, editing events, using the reminders function, the whole 9 yards. Here's what I will build for you: a role overview specific to the Roadshine 30, 60, 90 plan, onboarding checklist, and then a day one, do this, then this instructions to make sure they immediately become useful when they come on board. For the next step, are you open to me drafting the role overview first as a one-page document so that we can understand? That is great, because we ultimately want to really reinforce that it understands the role overview. This will help us provide that new hire on day one. This is the role that you're assigned to. This is the expectations in the area that you fit within. I'm going to say yes. And here's the role overview of an experienced scheduling coordinator. The title, the purpose, what you do, the mission of the role is to ensure customer communication, keeping the schedule full, reducing scheduling conflicts, as well as the responsibilities of that customer communication, scheduling, daily operations, really outlining the job description of what this person is doing so that they know exactly the expectations. It's also taking thoughts at success metrics. High response rate, most calls and texts are answered or returned within a set time window, schedule accuracy, very low rate of wrong address, service times, things that might be lost in communication, day completion, consistently finishing routes on a timely basis as they manage that scheduling, and then customer satisfaction. Outlining those key success metrics that might work for this role in particular that you can then grade against, as well as the simple tools you're using, Google Calendar, phone, text, and any other CRM that might be in place. Again, kind of fishing for information that it might not know because it just hasn't told us. So it's building in its own buffers here. As this role supports its owner's technicians, for the owner, here's what you're trying to do. You're freeing up time for constant scheduling, call handling. Ultimately, as the owner, you're looking to get more time back to do more value add activities. And for technicians, the more we can keep them in the field detailing, the more money we make. So let's offload some of that, reduce some of the headache, and that's where you fit into that relationship. And it creates a lot of clarity for this new role and where they are in this small team. It asks, can we create a 30, 60, 90 day plan? Absolutely. Now it's applying us that tailored 30, 60, 90, citing that in day one, it believes that you want to learn the business, master the basics, and then follow the playbook. Day 31 and 60, take ownership of scheduling, improve reliability, and handle most day-to-day communications. So by second month into the third month, you should have a good understanding, and then optimizations take place after that. The routes, the friction, and then proposing improvements because now you've lived in it. Each phase below is broken down into what you should learn, do, and own. Primary objective of day 1 through 30 is understand Roadshine services, its customers, its scheduling rhythm. What they should learn is all the services offered, the pricing, who your ideal customer profile is as it relates to those local car owners or those small fleets, how your technicians currently operate their days. Everybody's a little different, and it's this person's job to understand how each of these technicians on this smaller team can be accommodated and what services they might work best in, how to utilize Google Calendar, what they should do during this time is shadow maybe yourself as the owner who's doing the jobs, or the technicians if they are pulling double duty. They should shadow this job being done for the first 2 days to take notes, start entering appointments into Google Calendar, really getting used to the functions of the business, and then sending, confirming, participating in end of day reviews to make sure that they know what exactly is happening that they will be taking over soon. What they should be expected to own by day 30, independently tracking everything in Google Calendar, owning the CRM, CRM, running basic scheduling for the role itself. There's going to be check-ins implemented. This is the most confusing time for the new hire, so it's suggesting that you create a weekly 20 to 30 minute one-on-one with them to make sure that they understand and they're achieving these 30, 60, 90 goals. This also plays into the 30-day review where you're going to check in on how they have done. Now you have these success metrics that we provided that we want you to get to by 30 days. Have you achieved them? And it gives them a tangible thing to strive for and something for you to grade them against. Day 30 through 60, what they should own, the primary objectives, what they should be learning, handling the patterns, understanding the difficult jobs, and then triaging the various things that come up. What they should do is publish daily schedules, take the lead on things, handle most rescheduling. What this is really doing is building out that 30, 60, 90, accelerating so much of your time that you could have. And then 60 and 90 is optimizing everything. The deeper patterns of the business, suggesting ways to improve, audit the current schedules, propose and pilot a couple different improvements. And then at the end, you're owning the entire structure at the end of your 3-month period. This is a way for somebody to know where they're expected to go along the way, because lack of clarity creates so many problems for new hires within businesses and ultimately creates some level of missed expectations. Next, it's going to ask for that onboarding checklist. We've established the 30, 60, 90 plan. What does it actually look like for us to go through an onboarding checklist? I'm going to say, yes, create the onboarding checklist. And now that we spent some time on an onboarding checklist, we now have a PDF that it provides us, as well as writing it in the chat itself of what you should do as an owner before the start dates, making sure that you've confirmed the start date, set them up in the systems appropriately, established the training materials, the day one checklist for them to have, where you're walking through the calendar structure, you're giving them the service menu to make sure they understand what your company actually does, and then giving them the checklist of shadowing on inbound calls, practicing sending in appointments, whatever it might be. And it's even serving up what you should do in week 2 and 4 for your checklist to make sure that you're further empowering these folks to achieve their 30, 60, 90-day plan. Its suggestion is that these tools work best when it's paired with the role overview, the 30, 60, 90 plan, and then the day one quick guide. The last thing that we need it to create, however, is that day one quick guide. So we're going to ask for it to create the day one quick guide. It's going to think through, based on the information that it's already created for us, the context that we have provided about Roadshine, and now it's working through creating a very singular one-page day one quick guide that we can then handle to the new hire, that has the checklist that we've already talked about, the 30, 60, 90-day plan, a reference to it. And ultimately, this is building towards the new hire to not overwhelm them, but give them a singular piece to look through on their first day and understand what's awaiting them as they go. It again provides us with the PDF, but we're going to stick inside the chat of what the purpose of this day one is, what success for them would look like on day one, create clarity, not overload. We really want to make sure that this person feels like when they step in, they have a system in place. Although you're growing this company really fast and that you're having to hire to further serve your customers, we want to make sure that the people getting hired are given a fair chance. And by using AI to help this happen faster, we need to raise the floor and do the things that are required to make these folks feel supported. The day one schedule for the person on what they're supposed to be doing, outlining what they're going to be doing when they come into your company. They have no idea what the day looks like, so giving them some level of structure. It believes this would be a great way of welcoming them to the business for the first 30 minutes. The role overview, with that role overview we just created earlier in this chat, the tool set up with whether it's Google Calendar, the shared documents, some standard operating procedures you might have, walking them through Google Calendar, making sure they understand the service and pricing that's done, call messaging scripts, booking walkthrough to make sure that they understand the exact way when something comes in, how does it actually get in and ultimately get service, that whole life cycle, the technician handoff, and then end of day recap. This is designed to ultimately provide as much clarity as possible to this new hire, so on day one they come out at least knowing what is expected of them so that they can start building towards. This also keeps going with the first tasks to complete on day one, the day one to-do list and not to-do list, ask clarifying questions, double check, do not guess on pricing, promise technician arrival times, leave notes. These are the basic things that we really want to reinforce as a company. We want to make sure that it's understood from the very beginning. As well as this is providing us quick script examples of what we want, the manager checklist, and then the operating notes. This has put together an entire onboarding kit, the 30, 60, 90 day plan, the role overview, the onboarding checklist in a time that it would take for just the ideation previously. We do not want to get stuck in this world where we have to make everything perfect. This is not a perfect setup. This would need to be tweaked. This must be handled and personalized to your own business's needs. However, this is a great start. All of this can be extracted, put into Word documents, and then moved around and made sure it fits your business in particular. The idea, though, is utilizing the tools at our disposal so that we can make sure that your small business continues to remain effective and competitive in this big market that you're competing within. The purpose of this video was not to have an end-to-end complete breakdown of how to use AI systems for your business. It's to show accessibility. So often I talk to small business owners who just don't really utilize it because they feel like it's either scary or they don't understand it, or that it's quarantined off for these big organizations that spend billions of dollars on it a year. It is not the case. This can be used to really advance your small business, create processes, and drive productivity to remain competitive. And that is the key point to this video. We just created an onboarding kit, a 30, 60, 90 day, a role overview that can help somebody that just joined your business understand where they fit in their role at. That is what we want to show. My challenge to you is think of an area in your small business where AI might be able to help you. It does not have to be onboarding, but really it's the idea of taking all the thoughts in your head as an owner and putting them on paper, supporting the people that you're hiring, making sure that they have the ability to understand what needs to happen in the business and so they can achieve it. Within this video and in pretty short order, we just created an onboarding packet with 3 different documents that are going to be used to really support an employee on their first couple days of business with us to make sure that they know exactly what success looks like, where they fit into the roles. And that was through AI accelerating already the thoughts in our head and then us tweaking it along the way. If you like videos like these, talking about small businesses, how they can continue to grow and thrive in whatever industry they're a part of, subscribe to the Forging Growth YouTube channel. Until then, I'll see you next time.